Chapter 9, Part 3, Neuromuscular Junction Structure. Motor neurons carry electrical signals called action potentials. Those will stimulate the muscle fiber action potentials, and that's followed by a muscle contraction. Points of contact between the motor neuron and muscle fiber is referred to as the neuromuscular junction. Now, keep in mind that says points of contact, but technically it's not physically touching. There is a gap there. So even though it says points of contact, there is a little gap between the actual motor neuron and the muscle fiber. And again, that's referred to as the neuromuscular junction, and sometimes referred to as a synapse. And it consists of, or is made up of, something referred to as the presynaptic terminal, which is basically an axon terminal, the end of the neuron. And inside of that, there are synaptic vesicles. And I think of those vesicles as little bubbles filled or storage containers filled with acetylcholine, which is a neurotransmitter. So I'm going to say that again. The presynaptic terminal, or the neuron that leads up to that muscle, is the presynaptic terminal. And the end of that terminal, the axon terminal, is filled with little storage containers called synaptic vesicles. And those synaptic vesicles contain acetylcholine, abbreviated ACH, and that is a neurotransmitter. Neurotransmitters from one cell, for example, a motor neuron, can then bind to channels, ligand-gated ion channels, on the other cell, on another cell, for example, the muscle fiber. So how that signal, that electrical signal, it can't get from the motor neuron to the actual muscle. It must be carried over, the signal must be carried over via the neurotransmitter. And in this case, it'll be the acetylcholine. So those neurotransmitters will travel from the motor neuron and then bind to channels on the other side of that synapse in order for the signal to travel. A synaptic cleft is a space, the space between the motor neuron and the muscle. And then on the other side, the other cell, on the other side of the neuromuscular junction is called the postsynaptic membrane or the motor end plate. Those terms are interchangeable. So here is illustrating the end of the nerve, okay, one of the branches of the axons, and it has more and more branches that kind of reach up and meet just barely, remember it doesn't touch, to the muscle cell. This is the muscle fiber or the muscle cell here. And this is a close-up of that. So this little bulb-like thing here is the presynaptic terminal, okay? So this is where the signal is coming from. It's traveling down here, branching down here, and then all the way down here. And all these little purple little storage containers are synaptic vesicles, and they are holding the acetylcholine. The space between this little end foot, right? This presynaptic terminal, or the terminal end, is the space is called the synaptic cleft. And then this over here, whoops, I didn't mean to move that. This over here is supposed to be the muscle cell. On the muscle cell, you have the motor end plate, and then you have, of course, some mitochondria and so on. And this is a real image of a neuromuscular junction. So we're going to start with a sliding filament model. So I'm going to start fresh on part 4 to begin this one.